Strange, isn't it? From childhood, we have been told that the universe is endless. It was said that there are millions of worlds out there, and that none of them can be reached. They said that they were thousands of light years away from us. But what if this is not the whole truth? What if we live in a multiverse where a thin membrane separates worlds from each other, and this membrane is not as strong as it seems? 7 worlds, 7 variations of Earth were instantly merged. Those few who survived called this cataclysm the Shift.
Have you ever really wanted to like a game? You've seen the premise and you've read some of the reviews, so you think you've at least got a little bit of an idea of what you're walking into. You've seen the starting cutscene and thought, oh, this is just up my alley. Undungeon was one of those games for me. It's an RPG game. Check. It's got a fantasy sci-fi look to it. Check. It has a story about multidimensional gods and demons. Triple check. So why do I sound so unenthusiastic? Well, as with all my reviews, I play at least 4 hours before giving anyone my opinion. If I haven't finished it in that time, then it's fine, it's just my impressions. Do you get the pun? Artist impressions? Yeah. So, yeah, you get my impressions of the game so far. So when I say I have played this for more than 4 hours and gotten nowhere, please understand that I am as frustrated as all hell with this game. I have even restarted it 3 times trying to figure out what the hell is going on and what the hell I can do so I could get a bit further into this game and give you more of an idea. But I will probably get to that point later in the review. Let's just start with the basic stuff first, shall we? Undungeon is a game developed by Laughing Machines, which is a new company and game developer. I'd like to stress now that this game is so far their only one and I'm probably going to rip it apart, but I would also like to say that this is great for a first venture. Just that there is a lot of major issues that I feel need to be addressed. I'm going to try my best to be constructive because it is their first one, well, but you'll see. It's also produced by TinyBuild. A lot of the games I've been reviewing and playing recently have been produced by them, so they seem to be doing pretty well for themselves. Good for them. Good for them. Anyway, the premise is that the apocalypse has happened, or at least that is the way it must feel like for everyone involved in the cataclysmic event. In the long distant past, there were 7 parallel universes that all existed alongside each other, but never interacted except through the will of the gods, via their avatars, the heralds. However, there was a terrible event that caused all of these worlds to phase together into one, killing countless billions and leaving the new world in disarray. This is the world you are born into from the void, and I do mean that literally. The first thing you do in this game is be born. You have to, well, I think you have to fix the world and stabilise everything, but I can't be 100% sure. Why is that? Well, you know about as much as a newborn does, which is nothing. Yes, you can walk and talk at an adult level, but you really don't know what skills you have, who you are, what the hell is going on, or anything like that. This would be fine if you were given much more information than what I have just given you within the first couple of hours of gameplay. Maybe I missed something in the massive amount of text that shows up, but I have issues with that again, which I will go into later on. You would have thought that as a direct creation of the gods, you would know what they needed you to do. I mean, really? I mean that literally, by the way. The Abyss, which in some pantheons are gods, just would like to add that in there, is literally there at the beginning when you are created. You can ask them a lot of questions, and if it were me talking to my freshly born murder child, I would actually tell them what to do. For example, what to kill and what to not to kill, because, you know, that's what parents are for, to teach the kids. I don't care if you're a god and nothingness is your fault. we're here, so you should probably take some responsibility for that, right? Well, you'd think that, but like any abusive parent, you were created, told to go away and deal with your shit yourself, and they don't even give you the money to pay for your therapy bill. Which is not my life story, and is definitely only the story for the protagonist of this game. Honest governor. So you've been born, you've been sent to this liminal? Is that the best word for it? Maybe, I'm not sure. But it's a world between worlds, a hub if you will, where you are allowed to do a very short tutorial, which is great because it gives you a rough idea of how to play the game. However, it is very rough and ready, and you can probably skip it because it doesn't tell you that much, and you can't really work out without button bashing and hoping for the best. So it's not a great tutorial, but it is there. There is so much other stuff than just press X to attack that it just flat out does not tell you until it happens to you. I haven't got that much footage outside of what I'm showing you for this exact reason. I have to stress once again that I did play this for the minimum 4 hours that the Essential Game and reviews need to take place over, just so that I can give you an idea. And I did not get that far into this game. Why? Because I ended up restarting it so many times. I even changed the difficulty settings several times just to see if it was me and something that I was doing wrong. What do I mean? Well, there is an equipment system in this game. Your herald at the beginning is nothing but a system of bone with a couple of pieces of flesh and cloth. As you kill enemies, you can harvest their organs and use them to boost your body and, well, gain mass and skills. I kind of have to laugh at the thought of the image of someone tearing out a tongue and instantly shoving it in their own mouth so they can have a more charismatic speech pattern, which is kind of literally what you do. Each body part you pick up can be used to help with combat, talking, stealth. However you use these items, they do degrade over time and they break, which is fine because you can just get more, right? Well, yes, but what if you use an item you really like and you want to fix it? Well, the game does tell you that this is possible, but did I find out how to do this, or did the game actually show me how? No, it really didn't. What else can break? Your equipment and your organs. The organs that you've just had to harvest can ruin themselves. But you have 3 different items classes. You've got your main weapon, which is a set of claws, a set of ribcage armor, and a charge crystal, which kind of acts as a dash button that essentially charges up your powers to hit multiple people. The latter 2 require energy that you can use to increase by building up your body parts. Oh, and your core. I forgot about that. I'll explain that in a moment. So anyway, your claws can break, and these 2 will need fixing or replacing. However, these can break in battle, and when they do, it has big consequences. You can't do your big attacks anymore, and this in turn means that combat becomes a lot more difficult. And combat can be quite finicky at the best of times. There's a really good system here, and I think with some tweaks it could be a brilliant one, but the mechanics seem a little, well, off. You see, when an enemy attacks you, they flash kind of a shiny aura, indicating that an attack is incoming. If you can dodge the attack in time, then there are no negative effects. If, however, you get hit, then the enemy becomes stronger. They do more damage to you, and each time they hit you, this counter goes up and up and up and up, and they can nearly one-hit you, which would be all well and good, but when things get really crazy, it's really hard to keep track of. These buffs to the enemies do wear off over time, but this time seems to be randomly generated. I've had some enemies only take 1 or 2 seconds, and others take a full 10 seconds, and by this point I'm normally dead or badly wounded and struggling to defend myself. There is a small saving grace. The enemies do kind of broadcast where they're going to hit, depending on the type of attack they do. It depends on the markings that you'll get. If they throw bombs, a circle will appear where the bomb's going to hit, and if it's ranged, a line will show where it will go, roughly. You can step out of the way, or you can use your dodge ability to escape them oftentimes, but I couldn't use it because there were so many enemies that dodging from one into another didn't really help. Also, the dodge attack and heavy attack are all linked to one stamina bar, and it doesn't fill up very quickly again after use, which means you die a lot. I would like to add an addendum very quickly before I move on. I have played this some more since writing the script, and I would like to say that there is a randomly generated pickup section. So either the first 3 games that I played, the drop rate was so shit that I got no new weapons and couldn't find a trader that would sell me a new weapon, so I couldn't get far enough because all of my weapons were broken. Or the one game that I've managed to start up for you guys has had a patch because I've suddenly found 6 different sets of weapons. That means that I've managed to get further with this playthrough, but I'd like to stress, I'm on my 4th playthrough and only just managed to get somewhere. Weapons are a key important part of this, and up to a certain quest line you cannot repair them, so if you haven't found anywhere to buy them, or picked any up in the wild, per se, you're fucked. That's something that I think needs to be addressed. RNG is great, but when it means that you can fail because of something that you've programmed into the system so often, I have issues with it. Back to the original script. Which leads us to the deaths. You are going to die a lot. The game tried to make it out that this is a mechanic and gives you a way of saving that is using mirrors. These essentially trap the essence of your herald, and when you die, teleport you back to the mirror, and then you can find another mirror and try again. At least this is the way the game tells you it should work. Now I don't know if this was just me or if it's an actual game fault, but I would use mirror, die, then re-respawn, and then when I next died, end up in a hub level having to do everything all over again from when I logged in and not from the previous mirror save point. This didn't always happen this way either, mind. Sometimes I would use a mirror and still end up back at the hub world, having to redo everything all over again. It was very hit or miss and inconsistent. And also there are only a limited number of mirror placements to find and travel around the map, which could be, well, tedious. Now, I like the idea of the map, I really, really do. I think the best thing I can compare it to that I remember is the Dragon Age Origins map. You know, you would pick up where you want to go and follow the little red line that represented you, and then sometimes things would happen. You could see when an enemy was getting closer, and then you could try and avoid them if you wanted. They tried to do that here, and I admit it is pretty fun, but some of the travel times are really long. I made a cup of tea once while waiting to get from point A to point B, and I only got a random encounter once, which was pretty disappointing, but well, maybe a couple more random encounters like that in there. I think that would have made it more fun if I could get past some of the other faults in the combat system. Which, it's about time that I think I get back to those other faults really, because this script is getting pretty long, and I'm sure that it's a lot longer than any of my other reviews so far, and the repeat of gameplay footage in the background probably isn't helping you. Can you tell I didn't get as far as I would have liked? Anyway, my biggest, most annoying pet peeve, and the one that really made me have to put this game down and walk away, was the writing. Now, I love reading, I love writing, I love story-driven games, but I'm also really heavily dyslexic. I have struggled most of my life with this, and I'm happy to say that I've overcome most of it, but sometimes it comes out really badly, normally when I'm stressed, upset, or frustrated. And this game, whoo boy, I struggled big time. There is a lot of writing, a boatload, and it's not in the most friendly font in the world either. Letters and words would move around, and I had to run the whole thing through my OBS on my PC so I could use my app that I have to help me read it. And that was not fun at all. Now, I would like to stress that this could just be my problem with the game, but this is my review, and as with drama, I would like to express when I think things could be changed to make the game more accessible. And I don't mean the whole easy/hard mode debate. That one is for another time. This comes down to something else entirely. If you're going to make a heavily text-based game, you need to give access to those people who struggle with reading or learning difficulties. As someone who's done their best to overcome them, I found it incredibly hard to fully engage with this game. So if I find it hard, someone else may find it impossible, and that could put them off finding their new favourite game. But also, if you hide your tutorials, missions, important information, etc. in that text, and then make it nearly impossible to move forward without any form of help in that regard, well, that's just plain not fair. Now, a lot of people are going to think that I hate this game, but you'd be surprised to find out that I don't. I'm a little disappointed and saddened that I can't enjoy this the way the developers wanted me to. This game is right up my alley, something that I wanted to play and enjoy. A game that has a similar retro feel but with some real spit and polish could be an amazing game. It could already be an amazing game, but I'm just held back by the massive amount of writing and therefore a lack of understanding for the game's materials. However, I have spoken to a couple of other people who were playing this at the same time. I started because they were intrigued by the very sound of this game, and they didn't even end up giving it as much of a chance as I did. I hate being down on someone for their first game, especially when it's from a new developer, but all it can take is someone saying that your game is awful, and we all know the internet can be a hellscape for tearing down people's confidence. But I hope that you can see that the reason this video is so long is because the basics are there. It could be an amazing game. I can see the potential, but it's not lived up to with this offering. Laughing Machines, however, could turn this one around. They could learn from their mistakes here. They could make the next game more accessible with their fonts if they are sticking with the pixel art. They could make the maintenance on the equipment more easier to deal with. Addendum. They could make the RNG drop weapons sooner than, it did. This company and their games are an uncut diamond that just needs to be polished up, and it could be great. Either that or I'm just getting really salty in my old age.